I'm Linda Elsigard, founder of the LDN Research Trust. It has been my honour to interview LDN researchers, prescribers, pharmacists and patients from around the world for many conditions. Thank you for joining us.
This evening I'm joined by Ellen from the United States, who uses LDN for sarcoidosis and Ehlers Danlos or EDS. Thank you for joining us, Ellen.
It's my pleasure.
Now, as we were saying before we started, that I interviewed you back in 2013 and you told us what the condition was like and how you started LDN. But for people that haven't maybe heard your story before, would you like to tell us a bit about, how you got sick, what your symptoms were, etc.?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm now 66 years old, and at the age of 54, my life was falling apart. I went from being an athlete and being able to be a master swimmer and a swim coach and a teacher to suddenly just everything seemed to be slipping out of place, and I was even getting to the point of not being able to walk, and ended up finally being diagnosed with a condition I was actually born with, but is totally incorrectly diagnosed around the world, and it's called Ehlers Danlos. It's a connective tissue disorder, which means the collagen in my body is defective. 80% of your body approximately is made of collagen, so it just loosens ligaments and tendons, so it makes it very difficult to live your life safely. And I started a horrible journey of now a total of 23 surgeries to basically secure my body in place and get me back on my legs. I can't walk in a big store, but I can walk in the house and I can walk into my physical therapy. So that's a gift for me after 4 years in a wheelchair. But about a year after I was diagnosed with Ehlers Danlos at the age of 54, I was then also diagnosed with sarcoidosis. I started to have some issues with breathing in my chest and simple x-ray, and doctor called me in a panic to say that my lungs were filled with granulomas and enlarged lymph nodes, and that they did a biopsy to discover that I had another condition that also incurable called sarcoidosis. So here was my life, losing my career and everything I loved and trying to figure out how to move forward. And that's where LDN came in. I went to my pain clinic doctor, Dr. Chopra, and he had mentioned it, and I know this is going to sound silly, but I'm so darn drug reactive that when anybody mentions any medication, I don't get all excited about it. I kind of ignored it for about a year, but then I started noticing people with my condition using it that were really noticing positive changes. And I thought, well, why am I being so stupid? So I had a DNA drug sensitivity testing done to make sure I would be compatible with this medication, because I've literally spent my life reacting, and that's due to this condition of Ehlers Danlos. I can't take an aspirin, I can't take Tylenol, I can't take any of the opiates, and here I've been given a body with pain for the rest of my life. So I just wanted to make sure it would be okay to put this into my body, and it came back that there was no problem. So I went ahead and started trying it, and I could not believe the change that I was feeling. It took a couple of weeks. But then what I think the biggest thing I noticed is that on my, and for a long time there weren't many good days, but when I would have them, I felt that I was much more positive and much more happy on those good days. And I felt that the medication, I use medical marijuana for pain in an oil form, and I actually was able to reduce the amount I used too. So it seemed to help calm my body and make me feel like a happier person. I'm very grateful for it. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Certainly does. So since we spoke 3 years ago, and
yes.
I think it was about October as well. No. It was earlier in the year, March time, I think, 2013.
Okay.
So how has your condition changed since then, or has it stabilized?
Well, it got pretty bad, and I'm not blaming the low-dose Naltrexone. What happened was my neck was severely loose, and because I have severe osteoporosis due to this condition, they weren't able to stabilize it. So it was just making life very, very hard for me. I'd have the bones in my neck put back in position. I'd no sooner sit up on the table. They would be back out. They'd put it back in place. I'd step into the waiting room, and they'd be back out again. So it was getting very, very hard. And a doctor here in the States had started to email me. He knew I was in trouble and basically had said I was going to be headed to a Lou Gehrig type ending, which is not fun to have to hear as you're living your life and wondering how that's going to be. And he started to email me to say that he found a shorter screw procedure on the neck that he thought, he couldn't guarantee, but he thought would help. So last October, almost a year ago, I went in for a 9-hour neck surgery and got my neck fused. And it was probably the worst 5 months of my life initially getting through the recovery. It was very, very difficult. I basically was a person who sat in a chair, listened to very soft music, and did adult coloring, and that's all I could handle for months. But now, almost a year later, I am so excited. I am feeling the changes in my body. Nothing's going to cure my condition. Nothing's going to take it away. But the quality of my life recently has tremendously improved. And I have to say, the only time I ever went off of the Naltrexone, is when I was having surgeries. I've had 23 of them, and I've, depending on the doctor, usually I've had to go off of it just temporarily, and I can't wait to immediately get back on it once I'm back into a room. So I would say I'm very fortunate that life has improved. So I think it's a whole package deal. Certainly getting my neck fused and getting the spinal flow normally moving was very important to helping me feel as good as I'm feeling. So I feel like I'm a very fortunate person. It's been a heck of a long struggle, let me tell you. And I know it's not over, but at least it's better than it was. So I'm happy to say that.
You were saying about being in a wheelchair,
yes,
and you can walk inside the house now.
Correct.
Do you have to use a wheelchair all the time outside?
When we go into a very large store, I need to use a wheelchair. If I walk too long of a distance, my legs will start to sublux, which is a partial dislocation. I've had many, many surgeries on these legs using cadaver tendons to hold the legs in position. But that's just a product of me getting older, and I think the younger you are with this condition and the sooner you can address it, the better. But I was not young enough when I was diagnosed. I was 54, so a lot of years went by that I didn't get the proper help. There's a wonderful person in our state now who's actually written a book for Ehlers Danlos. So if anybody over in your area is still looking for help, it's called Living Life to the Fullest with Ehlers Danlos, and it's an actual physical therapy protocol that is safe to use with a manual therapist as a guide to help strengthen specific muscles to help hold those joints in place. And it's unbelievable. And it takes about a year to get through it. And if you have problems like I did with my neck, or your tethered cord needs to be cut, and you don't address those issues, you can't move forward on the protocols of strengthening. Once you get those things corrected, then you have the chance of strengthening those muscles and better improving your quality of your life, which is happening to me, and I'm shocked. No one ever could have convinced me I'd have such major changes. It's very exciting. I know I'm still headed for, a difficult rest of my life, but it's certainly a lot better than what I was facing before, and I'm very grateful.
And what about your pain levels now?
I hope you don't mind talking about it. I use medical marijuana for my pain. I take it in oil form. I've been able to there was a time my pain was so bad I was at 4 teaspoons of oil at night to get to sleep and get through the next day. And this started when I started the LDN, I'm down just 1 teaspoon, and I've never had to go up in quantity ever since. I'm at 1 teaspoon, and that seems to be sufficient. I take a teaspoon of this at night, mix with a little applesauce an hour before I go to bed, wake up in the morning. Unless my breathing's been compromised, I wake up the next day. I am, ready to live life and move forward, and I don't normally take anything during the day because it still stays in the system and keeps my body calmed down. So it's really very exciting, and I look forward to everybody in the world having the chance to take advantage of this very natural product that's out there and that we can use to help ourselves people with my condition with Ehlers Danlos particularly are very drug sensitivities, and it's very hard to find something that's compatible to your body. There's nothing worse than needing help. Take medication that's supposed to help you, and it ends up giving you another reaction. It's like, it's like you're beating your head against the wall, and that's pretty much the life people with Ehlers Danlos face until you get the DNA testing and identify what it is that is the problem in your body, what is safe to put in and what isn't. And I would advise anybody that has a complicated problem and has issues with medications and reactions, consider getting the DNA testing. When I had it done probably about 5 years ago, it actually got covered by my insurance company. I don't know if it still is today or not, but I didn't end up paying a thing. And I have this makeup now of my DNA that anytime I'm prescribed new medication, I can actually call this company up. They can get right back to me and say, yes, this is compatible, or no, it's not. Here's what would be compatible to your body that's similar. So it's a lifeline. That and also drugs, food sensitivity testing. People with my condition with Ehlers Danlos have a serious problem with metabolizing food. And there's food sensitivity testing that you can do where they take a sample of your blood, and what comes back is a list in categories. Red is the worst zone of food you absolutely should be staying away from, and then it kind of works its way down. So if you stay away from those foods in the red zone that happen to show up in your body, it will help to reduce inflammation. And by reducing inflammation, you're then reducing more chances of subluxations, which are partial dislocation in your body. So it's really, really helpful to just identify those items. It's a pain in the neck to find out that something you love to eat is on that list at the top, but I can just guarantee you that if you have if you're able to stop using whatever that item is, you will feel a positive change in your body, and it will help you cope better with the condition. If that makes any sense.
Yes, it certainly does, and it not only with your condition, but I think that goes across the board with all autoimmune conditions.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and for you not to have increased the marijuana for pain, since you've been on LDN, which has been over 3 years, that's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Isn't that cool? And we're talking a 9-hour, very serious neck surgery. Even after that, I did not need to increase it. So I'm shocked. And what shocks me is how I'm basically okay during the day and don't need to take medication. I'm really shocked. I mean, this condition is progressing. I mean, I went 6 months with the gut entirely shut down. It's not like anything can take away the condition. It's progression. That's there. But I'm learning to better live with it. I'm learning to probably be a happier person than I was before with this. And I honestly think this LDN has helped me. There's something about it that just helps to calm the body and makes you feel, I don't know, it's going to sound silly, kind of more grateful in your life than maybe you felt before. It's very easy when you get stuck with something like this to feel like, why me, and get caught in that. You have to really work emotionally with yourself to, find the good in your life and find the happiness again and not feel like you're being cheated. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if LDN has helped slow the progression, because if maybe it had carried on progressing at the rate it was, maybe the pain would have been higher, which would have probably led you to have had to have increased your pain medication. I don't know.
Well, I think the thing with Ehlers Danlos is you have to try to change your mindset. When you have such pain in your body, you feel that you're sick. It's really not that we're sick as much as we have a body that's too loose, if that makes any sense.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So the ligaments and tendons can't do their job at all. The muscles are on overload because the muscles have to take over those jobs. So the key and when you learn to strengthen the correct muscles, safely, that helps to reduce some of the pain too, because you're not going to slip out of place as frequently. Mm-hmm. I wish I had understood all this better when I was running off to the state of Wisconsin for surgeries with cadaver tendons. I wonder now, had I known what they know now And that's the hard part, being diagnosed so late in life. I wish I had known what they know now, because maybe some of the surgeries would have been just resolved by me doing the proper exercising that's now been figured out through, Kevin Muldowney's book. And I'll never know. You have the journey you have, and you make the best of it and try to make decisions that you hope will help and not hurt. But yeah, who knows? Maybe it's the LDN that's doing it. I don't know. But I'm a happy person. I can remember when I was teaching back in 2007. I retired, and I can remember thinking, this is crazy. I love the kids. I love teaching, but it was a tremendous struggle for me physically and emotionally to get through the days and do all the work I had 125 students a day teaching 8th grade.
Wow.
It was just,
Thank you for sharing your experience with us, Ellen. I'm sure people who are listening out there who might have either of your conditions will find your information, really helpful. So thank you for sharing that with us.
It's my pleasure, and if anybody ever wants to be in touch with me, I'm more than happy to give out my contact information to them, just to let you know.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ellen.
Okay, you take care. Nice to talk to you. Bye-bye now.
Do you have LDN experience to share? If so, please email me, linda@ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you.